Find the absolute maximum and the absolute minimum of the function on the given interval. The function is f of x equals x minus 3x to the 2/3 power plus 4. And the interval we're given is negative 8 to 125/8. In order to find the absolute maximum and absolute minimum of this function, we need to first find the derivative. The derivative of f of x is f prime of x, and that equals 1 minus 2x to the negative 1/3 power. The derivative of 4 is 0. We do not need to include that in our derivative. And I'm going to rewrite this as 1 minus 2 over x to the 1/3 power. And it's important to write it like this so we can find all critical values of this function or derivative. Remember, critical values are all values where the derivative is undefined and where the derivative equals 0. And if you look, since there is an x in the denominator, that means we need to set the denominator equal to 0 and solve for x. So one of the critical values is x equals 0. And this is where f prime of x is undefined. The other way to find a critical value is to take the derivative, and I'm going to use this version, take the derivative, set it equal to 0, and solve for x. So that's 1 minus 2 over x to the 1/3 power equals 0. And my go-to step is to get rid of this pesky denominator, because denominators are pesky and they cause problems. So multiply each term by x to the 1/3 power. And in turn, that will get rid of the x to the 1/3 power in the denominator and leave us with x to the 1/3 power minus 2 equals 0. When you add 2 to both sides, x to the 1/3 power equals 2. Cube both sides, x equals 8. So here is the other critical value where f prime of x equals 0. So we have a critical value here. We have a critical value here. Both of these are in the given interval. Let's go on to the next step. From the previous page, we have the critical values here, x equals 8 and x equals 0. We have the interval that this function is defined for. Now all we have to do is evaluate the function at every single critical value and every single endpoint. So we have 4 values. 8 and 0 are the critical values, negative 8 and 125/8 are the endpoints of our interval. So we can find f of 0. Let's do that one first. This is 0 minus 3 times 0 to the 2/3 power plus 4, which is 4. We can do f of 8 next. I'm just doing the critical values first. This is 8 minus 3 times 8 to the 2/3 power minus 4. Sorry, it's plus 4 is equal to 0. And if you evaluate the function at the endpoints, you'll see that you will get something that looks like this. So what we need to do now is we need to go through and pick the absolute max and the absolute minimum values. The maximum being the biggest value in this list right here, and the minimum being the smallest value in this list right here. So it looks like the biggest value in this list happens right here. So there is an absolute max at, the x-coordinate is way over here at 0. So that means we have an x-coordinate of 0 and our output 4 was our y-coordinate. So we have an absolute max at 0, 4. And the smallest value in the list is right here, negative 16. That's our y value when we put in negative 8 for our x. So this means this is an absolute minimum, and that happens at -8 comma -16. So here is where the absolute max and the absolute min happen for this function on this interval.